property management is the field where you are just going to deal with chaos.
Everything you can imagine and some stuff you can't.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. When I think I've seen everything, I have not.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the Millionaire Misfits podcast. I'm Eric Stewart.
And I'm Dan Edwards.
This is episode 13, and our mission is to turn misfits like us into millionaires like our guests. Today, we have on Jory White, Airbnb connoisseur, property manager, and investor. Dan, tell them a little bit more about what they can expect.
Heck yeah, Jory was awesome. He's got a ton of stuff going on, and I liked hearing his journey about he didn't even want or had a goal of getting into owning a business.
Right.
But just steps after steps realized that's where he was headed. But there's a ton of good, actionable information in this one to step by step get started, especially if you're interested in that property management stuff. But even just some of the mindset stuff and things that he talks about. But super fun guy, super nice. This was an awesome episode. We had a blast doing it.
You don't have to have a lot of money to do what he does to start. And you can get in and learn a ton on the job. It's a low barrier to entry, and there's a lot of potential in this industry. So this is a great one for the misfits out there listening. So let's not waste any time and let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Jory White, aka the Airbnb Beast, as you are affectionately called around here in the studio. Welcome to the Millionaire Misfits podcast.
Dude, excited to be here with you guys. This is going to be a fun time.
So yeah, thanks for coming, dude.
Yeah.
We're going to try and keep it brief, so 3 hours or less. So I know you as real estate investor and, property manager, Airbnb guy, big Airbnb guy. So we have very similar interests and business pursuits. For our audience that doesn't know you, and Dan, as well as I do, maybe tell us a little bit more about yourself, how you got started, and where you're at in business and life. And I guess give us a little intro and then how you're involved in business and kind of where you're going.
Yeah, man, I love that. I like the questions. So yeah, originally I'm from Valley City, North Dakota, which isn't far, obviously, from Fargo here. Small town, North Dakota boy, grew up that way. As far as pursuits of knowing what I wanted to do, I was pretty heavily focused on wanting to be an optometrist. So eye care was my field that I was very passionate about.
Oh, wow.
So when I transitioned from that to masters of business, I still had no idea what I wanted to do whatsoever. Until my best friend, Devin at the time, he sent me an application for Kyle Reedstrom's operations assistance role.
Nice.
I truly had no idea what that role intended to be. When you read an operations assistant role, you just assume you're going to be getting someone coffee, setting up appointments for them.
Shout out Kyle, too, previous podcast guest
Yep.
and the OG.
So the whole idea just quickly transformed into me building what that role was supposed to be. And I never thought that would lead to me starting a business. Kyle gave me the opportunity to go and own a property management company for 10% ownership just for managing his properties at the time. And these were located in Detroit Lakes on a little spot called Lake Avenue, which is not the most phenomenal part of town necessarily, but that was my start with property management. And Kyle was gracious enough to give me 10% and kind of do some of this property management thing while also doing a lot of stuff for him at the time. And I wish I could say he had me constantly doing these tasks all the time. It was just a wide net. I was doing so many things constantly for him, and anything he needed, it was kind of I was just the right-hand guy for him.
Nice.
Which is an exciting role to explore because not many people get the opportunity to just be a catch-all person.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of firsthand see what a business owner is doing. And so was this after you graduated with a master's in business?
Yeah. Yep. So
Okay.
graduated with a master's of business in 2020. So just before COVID hit,
dang.
yeah, I got the opportunity to walk the stage in Orlando, Florida, literally 2 weeks before COVID hit.
Whoa.
And so once I graduated with that was where I was in limbo state. There was hiring freezes that happened, and I had no idea what I was supposed to be doing with this master's of business that I had just got.
At that point, were you still thinking optometry?
No, this was after.
Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha.
So I was past optometry at this point and went into master's of business and then had to just figure out what do I do with this now? That was the hardest thing. I didn't know what I was supposed to do with it. So actually prior to working for Kyle, just as a quick thing, is I was the general manager for Panda Express on 45th here.
Oh,
nice.
really?
I was the 6th manager in 2 years, and I didn't know that. And I figured out why I was that, like, because it was intense. Like, it was 7 days a week, 12-hour shifts.
Whoa.
It taught me a lot. Like, my superior at the time, he didn't love me necessarily, but I also respected him a lot. Like, he taught me a lot about my consistency in my work ethic versus like just constantly being intense all the time. So that was huge. And then once I transitioned into Kyle's role, I never thought I'd get to a point where I had the luxury to run a business and be trusted to run a business myself.
Yeah.
So like at the time when Kyle hired me, I was 25, had no business experience whatsoever. Kyle told me I was the least qualified of all the people. He actually wasn't even going to give me an interview, funny enough. And I was the last interview of his time during that week. And all of a sudden we're to this point where he allows me to run a business and that we're 50-50 owners in now.
Wow.
I'm having the most fun I think I ever have in my life, getting
Nice.
the chance to run businesses like this.
That's awesome.
So having a master's in business is, you're qualified a lot, like not everyone will have is it an MBA?
Yeah.
MBA.
Yep.
Damn. I mean, that's awesome just by itself. But I mean, like that's a good lesson right there, is anyone that might maybe thinks they're a little underqualified or something, like shoot your shot.
Yeah.
Never know,
That's so
and like,
true.
So I used to do a lot of tours with like college kids at the facility that I used to manage. And when they'd come through at the end, I would always leave it. And I would say, like, when you guys graduate and you go out there and you start looking for jobs, just start applying to everything that you're interested in. Like, because a lot of people say, you have to have 5 years of experience in this and this degree and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, just apply. Just throw your application out there, send them your resume, whatever, because you don't know. Like, they might give you a shot, and then that one opportunity is all it takes to just snowball into a bunch of other opportunities. And so many people don't even try because they're like, oh, well, I'm not qualified. And it's just like, I know a bunch of other people, like, just like Eric said, shoot your shot, try it and put it out there, because somebody eventually is going to give you that opportunity.
Yeah, working for equity is this is not the first time that's come up either. And another guest have talked about this too, but in the right situation, you'll still get a salary and you get a little equity too.
Yeah.
It's just, a lot of people don't even know that's an option. Like, you can work for a salary for a corporation, or you could work for just pure equity if you want to start your own business. But there is sometimes a happy medium where you go and work for a smaller business owner who's on the rise, but you can go and be their right-hand man, or come and like provide incredible value to them, help them grow, and then take a portion of that. So a lot of people don't realize that's an option or where those opportunities lie, but you do have to, there's a trade-off, obviously. Like, you're going to be working a lot more. You're going to have to study in your off time, or like learn the business. Like, we'll get into this, I'm sure, but like, you've done a ton of work on understanding Airbnb and like really nailing that down. So, okay, just to recap, because that was supposed to be a short introduction. Jory White. Okay, Airbnbs, we're starting over.
Yeah.
So, owner of Guardian Property Management.
Yep.
You have your own properties.
Yep.
And was there another arm of the business that I forgot?
We have Guardian Property Services as just like the maintenance and lawn care, snow removal type arm that's starting to come up. And we have a young hustling kid, Caden Lesnar. Shout out to that guy.
Shout out Caden. He was just here yesterday, did my lawn. Love it. If you notice how pristine it looked,
Yes. He just has a phenomenal mindset.
Yeah.
And the thing I love about that guy is he's moldable, and he has the chance to really go run a very effective company. But we just get the luxury of being a part of that.
Helping him go from 0 to 1.
Yep.
Same thing we're doing here, but we don't have to leave the couch.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. You got the management, you have the maintenance, and then you have your own properties, and then partnerships and stuff too.
Correct. Yep.
Okay. No, that's awesome. And it's all kind of stemmed from getting into this one opportunity, and it's kind of just bloomed from there. And so you're a partner on a 12-plex property and a 20-plex property.
Yep.
That's awesome. And you didn't have to put any of your own money in.
No.
What?
No.
How's that possible?
Kyle Reedstrom.
He's the mastermind behind it all.
Truly, like, I have to give a lot of credit to Kyle, because I wouldn't be in this situation without him, truthfully. Taking a chance on someone that was not qualified. I was unproven talent, right? Is what they call it.
Yeah.
I was not someone that jumped off the page. And the fact that he chose to take a chance on me is why I got the opportunity to be where I am today. Now, granted, he opened the door for me, right? He opened the door.
Yeah. But you got to walk through it.
Yeah, you got to walk
You gotta
through and you've got
perform.
to start really working hard. I'm not this lazy work ethic person. It's always good. Like a saying we have in our building is consistency is greater than intensity. So I need to make sure I'm doing the things every single week that are super important to drive my business forward. Not how many books did I read this month. I want to know, did I increase my vacancy across my portfolio? And am I having good conversations with people that help me to grow my rental portfolio in the correct way?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's awesome. So you didn't have to use any of your own money. It's wrapped into your compensation package pretty much. And then, and as you take on more responsibilities, as you achieve more and more results, you help build Kyle's business. It also, you get a slice of that, you know, and the more valuable you become to a business owner or, you know, investor, boss, whatever, the more valuable you become. One, you're gaining skills and experience, but also you're just sharing in the profits. So it's like kind of your own thing too. And not to mention all the secondary and tertiary effects of like having exposure to someone who is 5-10 years ahead of you, or their entire network, you know, or their mindset. You're like, okay, I can just kind of shadow that, be a fly on the wall and learn. So that kind of stuff is invaluable. I know a lot of people that would like come and work for free for a guy like Kyle or like any of these business guys. Like if I can just watch you and just take notes for a year, I'll be way better off than like grinding on my own for 5 years and trying to figure it out. So
my mindset shift, just how I've molded as a person from when I first entered with Kyle to where I am at now, is just a tenfold shift. Like, just how I view the world as a whole and just how I view business, not much gets to me anymore. The days are stressful, right?
Yeah.
Like you get fatigue from that. It just doesn't impact me to the point where I'm going to go take it out on my wife or something like that. Right? Like I'm able to process it. I'm able to process it way differently than when I first started for Kyle.
Yeah.
Do you think that's because you've had to deal with more stressful situations and your sort of scale of what's a level 0 versus a level 10 problem has shifted? Or is it just a way of thinking about things that's changed for you?
I know a thing or two because I've seen a thing or two, as they say. The work orders and all the guest complaints that come in, it's just not something that I'm here to serve them at the end of the day, no matter how ridiculous a request may be or how they make me feel. I'm always going to be in service mode. And I think that's just kind of been my shift a little bit too, is like basement starts flooding at one of our long-term rentals. My process isn't to go into panic mode like it always was in the past. It's like, no, here's our steps now. Like once you get the systems in place, right? Like you just feel more secure in that. Like you know what your outlet is. When I first started, I didn't know. I had to try to figure it out. And that was the hardest thing. FIO, figure it out. It's so hard to do for some people, but the second you can try to instill that in someone, you just increase their problem solving skills. And that's what Kyle did for me. Like he really challenged me hard on that. And that really shifted how I operate my business.
Well, it still instills so much confidence once you've gotten a few, like figure it out. Like one of my old bosses at one of my last jobs, I would come to them with a problem and they would be like, that's a problem for you to figure out. He would just be like, we're buddies too. And so like he was more comfortable not being a dick to me, but just being like, you go figure that out. I don't want to hold your hand. And he would just say that to me. And I'm like frustrated because I'm like, you have the easy answer. But he's like, I'm not just going to hand you everything, you know, like, but it's the biggest gift you could give to someone, but it's the hardest thing to do because you want to help them and you want to see them succeed. You don't want to see them struggle. Like what I imagine like raising a kid would be like, but I mean, like you have to let them fail and try. Like there's no substitute for the work, you know, or like
just really isn't.
And the confidence you build from actually figuring stuff out, like Jory, go figure it out. And then after 50 times you figuring out, you're now confident that you can figure out pretty much anything.
Most things, right?
Yeah, exactly. So like you're robbing someone of the confidence that they would gain over that period of time. Sure, there's some struggle, but like if you do everything for someone, they will never gain that confidence.
No, and I think they get into self-doubt mode a little bit more too, if you don't allow them to go try to figure it out. I feel like people, man, I think they just have so much doubt about themselves. They just never feel like they can do something or they're never good enough.
We talked about something on a previous episode and Eric had mentioned like a lot of people, it's almost like you know the answer. Like you know it, but you want to hear the validation of me.
You want someone else to say it.
Like, like somebody, your mentor.
I'm gonna start doing this with you, Dan. What would you do?
Whatever, like, like like those people, they just want to hear the validation from the person that they know knows the answer versus like taking a chance and being like, even though they already know the answer.
Yeah,
Like,
A lot of the times, yeah. Or they're like just so close to figuring it out, but yeah, it's like self-doubt creeps in, or like anxiety creeps in. It's what people don't realize is it's the hardest thing to get out of that initial rut. You know, like get one win under your belt, that's going to be rough. Get two, a little bit better. But like after 10, 20, you start stacking these wins, you'll think back and you'll be like, not a huge deal. That first one, like if that happened today, like I have a process, or I have the confidence, or I have the mindset too, like to deal with all that stuff.
Yeah.
I love what you said. I mean, like you have systems now. You probably have more money in the bank to deal with problems that are strictly money problems. So that helps a lot too.
Yeah.
But like when you're broke and brand new, like something goes out and you're like, shoot, how am I going to pay for that like water heater? You know, I'm like, water heater is only a few $100, just whatever. Yeah. And then the mindset thing is huge too. These are my guests. These are my customers. I'm in the hospitality industry. Like I'm serving them. The whole point is to go above and beyond. And if you get a shitty guest every once in a while, that's just par for the course. Like that's part of the game.
So I want to back up a little bit.
Yeah. Let's do it.
So, okay. So you started college wanting to go into optometry.
Yes. Yep.
What changed where you're like, this ain't it?
You know, $250,000 to $300,000 in debt type of program was a big thing. I never considered other options since, you know, I was a sophomore in high school, that's dating way back to career fair time. Like I just didn't have another option that I considered. So getting into that.
So then what drove you to, because what was it? Master's in just business?
Master's in business. Yep.
What drove you to want to do that? Like at that point, were you like, I want to start my own business, or was it just kind of like?
I had more options available, I felt like, to me.
Okay.
Getting an MBA versus if I'm getting an optometry degree, I have one option. I'm going to be an optometrist. Like that is what I'm going to do.
Was the goal like, I want to manage, work up and be a boss? Or was the goal, I want to start my own company? Or did you not really know?
Definitely not start my own company.
Okay.
I had no vision surrounding,
I
had no vision surrounding that whatsoever.
Okay.
I think I probably anticipated me getting into some type of business here in
like a leadership role, more of internal.
But again, never getting to the top of that chain necessarily. Like I think I'd always just kind of stay at like a mid-tier level person, ideally running a team one day or something like that. But business ownership never crossed my mind in my entire life.
So then I'm really curious, like what was going through your mind then? So you applied for this job with Kyle, right? Yep. And then all of a sudden this conversation starts happening about partial ownership or buying in and stuff like that. Like what was the mindset, or like what was that like going through that whole conversation?
We all know Kyle.
Yeah. Cause like obviously if it was like, you know, that wasn't really like an end goal, you know, how did that whole conversation take shape, or, you know, how did that kind of
change your trajectory?
Alter everything?
Yeah. So Kyle was very good about like finding ways for me to get wins. Like he was generating things when I was first started working for him in 2020 about like how he can generate something for me to feel like my problem solving was going through the roof type of thing. And once
setting you up for success.
Yeah. Once he brought
momentum.
that. Yep. Once he brought the property management idea to me, I was like, it's not something I really ever considered. I mean, sure, I guess if you need me to do it is kind of how my mindset was, I'll do it, because I was just, again, kind of that catch-all person.
Yeah.
I was going to do what Kyle needed me to do at the time. And once he started talking some ownership percentages, I was like, okay, I get the chance to own something that I'm going to be working on. But again, at the beginning starts of Guardian Property Management, I had one foot on the ship and one on Kyle's. So I'd come over and correct that every now and then I'd go back and work on Kyle's stuff. And it was usually like 90% Kyle, 10% Guardian. And now we flipped. Like it's totally different now at this point. So I had no real development ideas in my head even at the time. I was just here to manage some properties. I had no vision for it, truthfully.
So when you got that 10% ownership, did that kind of spark that idea of like, oh, I could like own my own thing? Like, so how did you go from you're now working with Kyle, 10% managing properties, to Guardian Property Management?
So when we first start, obviously he gave me 10%. That was all long-term rentals. I didn't know Airbnb was really a thing all that much. I didn't know people hired other people to manage their property for Airbnb.
Oh,
I thought this was just a side gig thing that people did with their houses to make some supplemental income. I didn't think that was actually something you could go manage properties for. And so once we started once I knew by 2025, which is the year we're in obviously now, I was going to get 50% ownership with him. I finally just got the reins 2 or 3 years ago and got to finally make a shift into something better with midterm rentals and short-term rentals.
Yeah.
Long-term will always be there, but I knew I wanted to really refine my skills and my expertise in the short-term game as well as the travel nurse game.
Nice.
So
was that all your idea to shift into short-term rentals, or was that his?
that's a great question. And I was hoping it would come up because
Be honest.
Why were you hoping? Because it was your idea, wasn't it? You pushed for that.
I had an owner in 2022 that had the Airbnb I own now in West Fargo. That was his. And he asked me one day, do you do short-term rental management? And I said, no, we're just kind of long-term. That's kind of what I'm going to focus on because I was already managing a long-term firm at the time. And I started doing some more research on it. And honestly, probably 2 or 3 days goes by and I reach out to him again and said, yeah, let's take a shot at it. Like, let's do short-term rental management. And I went to Kyle and told him about it. And the margins were a little, astronomically different than long-term rental management too. And I knew I was branching into something completely different with hospitality. I was getting to deal with guests that were coming from all over to come to our utility market, as you use, Eric, versus vacation market.
Yeah.
And so short term was my idea. I'm going to claim that, and Kyle can't come back and say it's not.
Yeah, that's the benefit of being the second one on the podcast.
Yeah.
I get to come in and blow up all his stuff.
Set the record straight.
Yeah. And then midterm, I think, is just kind of like something me and him are chatting about. Like we were just looking at the numbers for that too, for rentals. And I think that was more of a cohesive decision between the two of us, but I'll always own the short-term one.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good call because in the last few years, it's gotten super popular, even like all the revenge travel post-COVID, and it's like the brand is ubiquitous everywhere. I mean, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
So, let's get into like a little bit of the numbers with the property management. So what ratio is short-term rentals on your portfolio, midterm and like long-term stuff? Do you have any ideas of like monthly revenues and stuff like that? Just to give us like some perspective.
So I'll break it out on a unit perspective. Long-term rentals, I have 44 units.
Nice.
Then we shift into 22 units with midterm. And then I'm at about 15 units for short-term with another one coming on for that. So we're more focused on we have more long-term right now, but it's going to shift over the next year or so. We're really going to start to outweigh long-term with short-term and midterm. Like that is going to be the natural progression. And that's what I want it to be too, because I know the margins are different and I know I'm working with a different clientele.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a completely different industry, really. So it's pretty much, it's like roughly half and half furnished, unfurnished.
Yep.
Okay. And is the income half and half?
No, it is not.
It's way better long-term rentals.
So typically, like the short-term rentals are always going to be the higher producer ones because that's going to give the owners more revenue. Obviously, we're going to take a higher percentage from those just because of the more intensive management that goes into it versus long-term.
Right.
Long-term, we're typically dealing with 12-month leases, and a lot of that becomes set it and forget it. Obviously, you're monitoring the work orders and stuff like that, but you're not constantly having to coordinate cleanings and guest interaction. And we know with Airbnb, you unfortunately just always have to be on. You can get a guest interaction at any point, and I have plenty of stories where I wish I was awake, but I was sleeping at the time, and just like bad things happened, unfortunately, that I didn't catch.
Well, you can't. There's so many moving parts with short-term rentals. Yep. Yeah, like, oh, my code doesn't work. Oh, are you looking at the wrong lock? Like that's the backup lock. The other one is the keypad on the door. Yep. There's so many variables. There's so many moving parts with Airbnb, which is why management can charge extra because it is intensive.
Yep. So in getting into numbers too, like May was our best May that I've ever had.
Nice.
So we broke 20,000 in revenue, and I mean, last year, I think in July and July last year, we did something like that in one of those months.
That's just for the month?
Yeah, just for the month of May.
Wow.
And I haven't seen that as a May ever.
Yeah.
So out of my 80 units, that's what that produced for May. Nice. So I'm hoping to see that uptick with June and July. My ambitious goal is to have $250,000 in revenue this year.
Yeah.
Like that's a huge goal of mine. And I mean, if we have a very productive Q3, it's definitely obtainable because I'm noticing a little bit of a shift in Q4 of like November and December have been very busy months for me. Oh. Usually it feels like it's a slowdown time.
Yeah.
Like January to March, we're dead. Like that is not a fun time to be in business. I think in many industries, there's just that lull. But quarter four, I've definitely seen a pickup in revenue numbers, which is good for me to note.
Yeah.
So that 20,000 in revenue in May, that was just those 12 short-term rentals?
No, so that's the portfolio as a whole.
That's the entire thing?
Okay. Yeah, but I would say the majority of that is coming from short-term because of the percentage differences. But again, since we're kind of balanced out at 50-50, a lot of that has the potential to come from long-term too, especially as we grow there. But short-term is going to be that uptick.
Is that all just from the property management side?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha.
So Guardian Property Services will bring its own stuff.
Okay.
And I'm not heavy on the books there. I'm definitely focused on Guardian Property Management more than anything.
Gotcha.
So yeah, that's the whole for May. And I'm hoping to see a pickup in June and July, especially since we're growing too. Like we're grabbing 2 more short-term rentals.
Yeah.
So adding more revenue from those is going to be very important too.
Okay. Just to clarify for people, maybe we're talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
But so that 20 grand for this last month, that was basically revenue for the management company.
Yeah.
So like that's a small percentage of the actual revenue that the actual portfolio made for the ownership groups or whatever.
Yep.
Do you offhand know what that number would be if for property management to make 20 grand ownership, the entire ownership, all your owners would have to make probably
not accounting for just Vrbo, obviously, but Airbnb in general. I think when I looked at my dashboard last, it was 30 or 40,000. Again, I'd have to look at the Vrbo insights, but the Airbnb dashboard it displays it nicely so that you can see on a monthly basis what your short-term rentals are roughly making. But you have to make sure obviously you filter correctly, because when I last logged into it, it said 23,000, but I know that was only for the past couple weeks or something like that. So they would have to be, especially getting into the busy season like that, they would have had to been north of 40.
And what percentage do you guys charge for is it varying or is it a
so
standard?
I mean, we're variable on some of it. Long term we've always been 10%, and that is just I would say we're probably the highest in town with that. Most are maybe in the 7 to 8% range I could see. I've always just been 10% because I'm very passionate in what I do with things, and we're more hands-on with stuff. And then as we move into short-term and mid-term, it starts to do a little sliding scale essentially. So you go to 15% for mid-terms, 20 to 25% for short-terms.
Yeah.
And I see on average, a lot of companies around the nation charge 50% for short-term rental management.
That's wild.
Which is crazy to think about. You imagine taking half of your owner's amount that they're making for your management.
And a lot of it depends. There's so many other variables too. I know so it's always interesting because it's not just, what percent do you charge? And then you can shop that around. It's always we charge this, but we also provide these services. We do include some cleaning supplies or we don't, for our cleaners, or we manage the cleaners or we don't. There's always these variable things, or we just manage your pricing and you have to do all of your own, I don't know, however owners want to be involved. So there's not just you can't just grade or judge property managers based on a percentage, because you have to look at the entire.
Correct.
Entire.
And I'm trying to make a lot of adjustments every so often to see how I can benefit my owners more with changes I can make to my company. So for short-term rentals, there's a lot of things you can do to try to make things better for your owner holistically. And we've identified a few that we're going to be exploring just from the cleaning standpoint that I'm super excited about. I think that's really it's going to alleviate a lot for us, but also it's going to reduce some expenses for our owners too. So when an owner hears that, they are excited when they get the chance to reduce any type of expense, because we want to try to monitor that too.
Yeah. If you can come in and take over, you could improve their net revenue by so much where you get your 25% and they're still making the same or more because of how bad they were running it.
Yeah.
So it's it's, and then they don't have to get out of the day to day. They're out of that.
Yeah.
So not only are they making a little bit more, it's truly passive income because they were so bad in the first place.
And as an additional piece too, I've had some owners tell me one of their pain points is cleaning, and that they've had to block their calendar just to account for cleaning. You are crushing your revenue numbers because you can't get that process figured out. Guess what? I can come and alleviate that with 2 seconds.
Yeah.
It's just we have that process figured out, and I'm working with such a awesome team now that we have the luxury to really control a calendar well and create higher occupancy percentages, and then try to go maximize your revenue. Again, we're going to have the ebb and flow that constantly occurs for short-term rentals, right? Your March this year might not be the same as the March next year. It's hard to predict some of that, and it depends on the events that people are coming to town for too. But we know 10 times out of 10 that January is not going to be the month that just does very well.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So with all of that, if someone is listening to the podcast and wants to start or is thinking about starting like a property management company, but they're just starting out, they're going to start small. Would you recommend them starting with long-term, mid-term, or short-term?
That's a good question.
If they had to just focus on like one to just start out with everything together, not just revenue, but revenue, how easy it is, or how intensive it is, the guest interactions. What would you recommend for somebody just starting out?
If you want to have a little bit higher stress, but then have higher revenue numbers, you can go STR route. I would start with long-term. And the reason I say that is you just get experience right away of how to look at a property different, and you get your attention to detail really fine-tuned. Like when I started with long-term rentals, when I walk into a house now, I'm noticing things more often than not. As I'm looking around Eric's basement, I'm like, where are the issues here?
Where aren't the issues?
God.
Yeah. It was like when I walk in a house, I can spot a ton of stuff. It's like clocking everything that came in.
It just taught me a lot about communication too. Like just with long-term tenants, I think you're going to have worse conversations with long-term tenants than you are with your short-terms. I think the interactions are way different. And I think you understand how to navigate hard conversations really quickly from the long-term perspective.
Gotcha.
Because our tenant pool in Fargo isn't the most phenomenal in the world. It depends on the area you are in too, right? Though at the same time. But if you're wanting to really get a good understanding for how property management works, you got to start long-term, in my opinion. I think that's just an easy way for you to get the door open for you.
Yeah.
And then if you quickly want to grab into those other niches, you can. But I don't know. If looking back, if I could have focused on one, I would have focused on short-term rentals and just really grew that thing out with midterm, because I think those two will always pair with each other.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
especially like the seasonality of Fargo too.
Most definitely.
What would you say as like a advice, if they're just starting out and looking to get clients as a property management? Is it get a website and just start advertising, or is it, stopping places and talking to people, or, how do you recommend somebody just starting out, starting to kind of get that portfolio of clients?
Yeah. So, I mean, I had the luxury because word of mouth became really easy for me early on, just because of Kyle. Like that's where it really started. So again, I have to go back and give credit to him.
Yeah.
I had that luxury, but going back to that question kind of is, I think if a person wants to start this, they need to go find out what the pain point is for owners around town.
Yes.
And you can easily find property owners around this town, whether you're doing a website. I don't think you need to do a website. I think you can go and look up LLCs and find out their contact information and inquire and just say, hey, what's a big pain point that you're experiencing with your property manager, if you have one?
Yeah.
Or if they flip it on you and say, well, I'm self-managing. Oh, are you having any pain points with that?
Yeah.
Then they definitely have pain points.
Oh, they will.
That's property
cool.
management is notorious for being difficult, and landlords always have problems with their property management. Like it's because property managers are just inherently dealing with problems. Like they're just always like,
it's a good way to say that.
Yeah. I mean, they're just always dealing with like the issues, the day-to-day operations, which is just like, if everything's going good, you don't hear from your tenants. So like they're just dealing with all the stuff that comes up.
Or if things are going bad, you still won't hear from them sometimes. So
But that's just, it takes a lot or a real professional to be good at it.
Yeah.
And even if you're good as a small property manager, to make good money, you have to scale. And then once you scale, you become, not as tight as everything once was when you were accumulating clients.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like it's always like this cyclical thing in my mind. But as a young hustling dude or lady, if you're trying to become a property manager, there's always market share to steal. I feel like there's always going to be a dissatisfied landlord. There's always going to be, like property management companies outgrowing or outpacing their growth, So there's a ton of opportunity. And like you said, pain points is a perfect
You
place
said
to
it.
start.
You said it really well there too, of like property management is the field where you are just going to deal with chaos.
Everything you can imagine and some stuff you can't.
Yeah. That's true. When I think I've seen everything, I have not.
So that's actually, I was thinking about this kind of when you were talking about like, they're known for XYZ. And I imagine that as a property management company, you probably get blamed for a lot of stuff, or like, people kind of take out some of that frustration. Yeah. So going back to like that, if somebody's trying to start this thing, What kind of like mindset do they need to start adopting now to like kind of be able to handle this or be prepared for moving into that?
You got to get ready to take criticism, like
problem solving.
Yeah, problem solving, like
criticism.
When it comes to criticism from either tenants or owners, just don't take it to heart. Take it as a chance to get better. Like you're not going to come into this thing and think you're perfect because you're not going
That's
to be.
just a good life lesson. Like guys, just learn how to take criticism.
Try to master your craft, you know?
Yeah.
Everywhere you go, like even in life, like you're going to face criticism. Like somebody out there is not going to be happy with something. Like learn how to take it on the chin and learn from it and move on.
Yeah.
Like,
well, if you're doing a bad job as a property manager, it's okay to be like, there's areas where I need to improve. You know, it's like an ego thing.
Yeah.
If you think if you're doing a great job, you're trying your hardest, that's not enough. You need to look at yourself and be like, am I doing great? And like, here are my areas of improvement. Here's what I need to work on. And if you get external feedback saying like, here are your areas of improvement, that should be like, thank you. Like I want to improve. I want to be the best. And that is helping me.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And a new person coming in, just be prepared to take ownership of stuff. You got to take the accountability. When you know you mess up, run into that. Don't run away from the storm. You got to run through it.
Don't make excuses. Don't be like, oh yeah, but that it was out of my control. It's like, sure, it was under your control, but could it have been under your control? You know, like that's the same. Yeah.
An owner doesn't want an explanation like that either.
Yeah.
No.
Just own it and then let's see how we can
fix it.
Let's improve.
We've had like, so
love that accountability. Like that doesn't get talked about enough.
Yeah.
No.
And it's a hard thing to really like, if a mistake happens, it's not the end of the world.
No.
If it's your fault, it's not the end of the world.
No.
It doesn't mean you're a bad person.
Yeah.
It might like embarrass or like burn a little bit, but like that's good because then now like you can use it. But like to say I made a mistake, I messed up, like there's nothing wrong with that. Like that's a human experience, but to run away from it or to deny it is like, just kind of like, don't delude yourself because you're just robbing yourself of the future confidence. You're robbing yourself of competency.
Yeah.
So probably 9 times out of 10, we would have way better experiences when I was managing installs. When like, if something went wrong, we would literally go get the customer and be like, hey, this happened. It got messed up. Like, are you okay with it? Or we're happy to fix it since, this happened.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, they're like, oh yeah, like, no, if you guys are fixing it or something, like we're happy to do that. And they came back, or they'd be like, oh, that's not that big a deal. And then they'd be like, oh, we really appreciate you like coming and letting us know though. But yeah, like when you mess something up and you hide it and then like the guys leave the site and 5 hours later, the customer is like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
Like that's way worse than just taking accountability up front.
And also like you're going to have 2 school of people that one are going to respond okay to you taking ownership and one's going to really lay into you.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Like just be confident in yourself still. Like you just cannot let people treat you in a certain way. And then just like identify with that. It's like, don't identify with that. You need to be able to know who you are too.
Yeah.
You learn a lot by doing.
Oh,
like we can talk about it and stuff and try to get people to like wrap their heads around what to expect, but it's never going to fully prepare you. So you got to like just jump in and just start taking some L's, but like a lot of the wins will start stacking up too.
Yeah. Fail forward.
I feel like it's a tricky balance because like you kind of just said, it's almost like you have to maintain a certain level of confidence in yourself, like that you know what you're doing, but you also have to be willing to accept that like, hey, I made a mistake or like take accountability for that stuff. So it's kind of like that. I still have stuff to learn, but I'm very confident in what I'm doing. And like, I know, so there is kind of a juggling act there a little bit.
Well, then if you apply that to real life, so we're talking like, okay, like a lot of psychological stuff and mindset stuff. But like if you apply that to real life, say you build up the confidence, you go out there, talk to 10 owners, maybe you get 2 Airbnbs to manage, right?
Yep.
So cool. Like now I've got a little bit of success. Maybe the first 8 said no, and I've been taking a bunch of L's. Confidence maybe dips a little bit, or maybe not, but like you get the next 2 and you're like, cool, I got 2 contracts or whatever. And okay, so to throw some numbers at the wall, like maybe each property makes $5,000 a month for easy numbers or $4,000 a month and like gross revenue. So 2 are making $4,000 a month. I get, as my 25%, I get $1,000 a month to manage that. And for 2, that's $2,000 a month just to manage some random guys 2 Airbnbs. $2,000 a month.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so that's a really good win. So to wrap your head around what to expect, if you're new, I'm not trying to talk for you, but I want to get your like feedback too.
Sure.
So I'm just trying to like set the stage for a little scenario play here, but that's a big win. You get a little momentum. and you're making a couple grand a month managing 2 Airbnbs, which there are systems and processes and stuff. So it doesn't have to be a full-time job just 2 at all.
Right, correct.
And you're making a couple grand, and sure, there's like months where that's 0, and that's gonna be months where that's 4 grand or whatever, like just based on revenue. As a manager, it probably doesn't fluctuate that much, but it could. So anyway, you have those losses and stuff, and you have those wins, but you get the experience, and you don't have to maintain this like unrealistic level of self-confidence forever. It's like right when you get those first couple, you see $2,000, you're like, shit, this works.
Yeah.
You've kind of just like solidified your like confidence level at a floor now. And you're like, okay, like now it's just operating. Like now I have to new problems I have to deal with, like not finding business, but like maintaining it or growing it. But I don't think it's just like some huge obstacle a person needs to overcome. You just got to get that first win or 2.
Yeah. Yep. I would fully agree with that. The second you go and operate a couple of properties extremely well, you're going to get word of mouth pretty quickly, or that same owner is going to say, hey, this is working really well. I think I'm going to go get more.
Yeah.
And that's happened before for me several times. But word of mouth, I've cold called one person.
Oh, really?
That's it.
Dang.
Cold call one person. There was a 4-plex. We're managing it. They went and expanded. We're managing those ones now. And so
Nice.
that's just going to be a partnership that continues to blossom.
Sweet.
But
Nice.
we're in that fortunate seat where people are starting to actually Google us and find us. So we started Google this year,
Nice.
where we just got reviews going, and it worked out well, and people are calling. And I'm having to say no more often than yes.
Nice. That's a
That's
good
so-
place to be in.
Yeah.
I just like a little real world numbers.
Yeah.
Like if I'm brand new, I'm interested in real estate, like obviously study,
Yep.
learn, and network with a bunch of people that are Airbnb managers or owners, like really just kind of build a base knowledge before you go and like offer a service to manage them.
Yeah. Yep.
But like once you do that, you can learn a lot on the job. You can grow and become an expert in stuff. But it doesn't take 50 owners, 50 properties.
No.
You can start and make decent money with a handful.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Which is really cool. And you don't even have to have like a LLC or a fancy like property management company. You could even do like the co-hosting strategy, which is kind of like a little hybrid of being like an official managing of the property. Co-hosting has kind of grown in popularity a lot
Definitely.
lately
Yeah.
too, but we don't have to get into that.
Well,
That's
I mean, there's so many ways to get into property management. Like there's some people up north with NDSU area where their parents bought it
Mhm.
and they lived in it for their college career, and now they manage it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there's several ways to be getting into property management. And
I think like Mason even started managing like that Herdenhorns building for,
yeah, he did.
was that Mason, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So just like you can kind of fall into it, but it's basically like zero money out of pocket, and it's solving problems, and it's scalable. So it is a really good business to get into, but you do have to do your work up front.
Your overhead is low until you have to start hiring a lot of people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you need to monitor that, because if you go grab 3,000 units, you're going to need a lot of people, right?
Right.
So like we know how many units we can kind of operate per person,
Mhm.
and we're kind of getting to the cap of where we have to consider
Gotcha.
maybe hiring
Yeah.
this year still.
Making a full blown business out of it.
Yeah.
But if you had 5 Airbnbs that you managed yourself, assuming these numbers are like rough numbers, but like $5,000 a month, that's $60K a year. That's a living salary just operating without even having to buy any real estate.
Correct.
You don't have to like qualify for any loans.
Yeah.
You don't even necessarily have to have any official schooling.
No.
Just because you have an MBA, just because you're flexing on everyone listening. But you don't necessarily have to. You can
No.
just YouTube universities, study podcasts, network your butt off, and like just hone that one skill, and you could have a full-time job just managing a handful. But
Yeah.
you'll never stop there either.
No.
Like
Yeah.
it'll always be
Your
more.
barrier to entry for property management is so small. It just takes getting your first couple, and then
Yeah.
it can
Yeah.
waterfall effect pretty quick.
Yeah.
So speaking of like the mindset and fresh, like people just starting out everything. So we obviously like to ask the millionaire moments and the misfit moments.
Yeah.
So starting when you were starting out with all this stuff,
Oh boy.
what
Yeah.
was like a misfit moment for you where you're like, did I make the right move here? Or like questioning, like, am I doing okay? Or,
Yeah.
what was kind of a moment where your misfit moment in the beginning?
I have the perfect answer for this. My very first tenant I ever put into one of Kyle's properties was an eviction.
Sweet.
I bought a story.
Sweet.
I did his background check, and it came back not very clean. I met him at the property, did tours and stuff. bought a story. He paid rent for 2 months and then stopped paying rent. And absolutely,
when you say bought a store, you mean like he
sob story type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like take a chance on me type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Classic.
I did, of course, being so green.
Bleeding heart. Like you,
Yeah.
they know that gets you.
Oh, yeah.
They know it works.
Yeah.
Because people want to genuinely believe the best.
Oh, entirely.
So he just stopped paying.
Yeah. He
you
stopped,
guys
like
had to
paid 2
evict him?
months. Paid 2 months of his 12 and then stopped paying altogether. And I do the follow-ups constantly. And then I found out the house was just getting completely trashed.
Oh.
He stopped paying his electricity bill. So he had a generator rolling out back
Oh
to keep the
my
house going.
gosh.
And once we got in there, it was, just stuff everywhere. And so going through that
Dang.
eviction was a challenge. And now that guy's in jail. So
So did you like
not
after
great. Not great.
Strong start.
So after that happened, like what did that do to your kind of like mentality, confidence? Like were you questioning stuff or were you just like, this sucks, like all right, moving on?
I signed the rate at the highest Kyle'd ever had on that property. And so when me and him celebrated that win, I was soaring on eagle wings. And yeah, once I went through the eviction, there was a lot of beat up moments for me. Like I definitely had a
imagine.
lot of self-doubt surrounding it. And I was like, I should not be managing properties. Like this was a big, big mistake. Like I had one of my owner's properties get wrecked pretty bad.
Yeah.
He had to put more money into it. And it just led me down a road of like, okay, I think I'm going to focus more on doing the work for Kyle's stuff. And I'll do like very, very tiny growth for the property management side.
So very quickly, how did you kind of turn that around? And because obviously you didn't stay in that state forever, or you wouldn't be where you are now. So how did you kind of get over that or turn that around? Or was it just you learned from it?
You learn from it, but then I just knew once I got 60 units by myself really quickly. And there was a lot of stress and a lot of learning moments that went into that. But I saw the revenue numbers and I was like, this is going to be an important business, not just for me, but for Kyle and for my family to build something and build kind of legacy at some point. I knew it was important I couldn't just keep being the operations assistant for Kyle Reedstrom. I knew that there was other things to that. And I knew Kyle wanted other things for me too. So the conversations he had with me at that time really shifted some of my mindset and it made me feel a little bit more confident in myself too.
So then roll that into what's kind of your millionaire moment of like, the exact opposite. Like, I feel like I really nailed this goal or like did what I kind of set out to do, wanted to do.
Grabbing 32 units with a 20-plex and a 12-plex with Kyle and being the chance to be part of that was a huge goal of mine.
Yeah.
Grabbing my first duplex with my dad was massive. That really shifted everything for me. I didn't think I'd own assets so quickly. So the way I created partnerships and the way I just got my foot in the door with some of these people really allowed me to now have an Airbnb, a duplex, a 20-plex, and a 12-plex. So those moments right there made me feel like I have assets. Holy smokes.
Yeah, you're gaining every month. Your net worth is going up.
Yeah.
Tick, tick, tick on just autopilot. Not autopilot, but like your net worth is growing with more wealth, like with acquisitions and like your active income helps with that too.
Yeah.
Where were you at in your journey when you acquired those things? Like had you been doing this for like 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? Like where were you at with?
I had been 2.5 years, a little over 2.5 years. My duplex was 2023 is when I grabbed that. April of 2023 was my first asset acquisition.
Okay.
And then we went into the Airbnb pretty quickly and then 20 and then 12. So my last year, June was 2 assets very fast,
Nice.
like 20-plex and Airbnb, like
That's
just
awesome.
like that.
And you didn't bring any money to those deals.
I brought only a little bit to my Airbnb, but I got 40% ownership because I dropped my management fee off.
Okay.
And just have my sweat equity in there, right?
What property is that again?
That's the West Fargo Airbnb.
Is that
I have.
a house or
Just a single family house?
you have a West Fargo single family Airbnb?
Yep.
And then you have a duplex
In West Fargo as well.
West Fargo.
Upstairs gets rented to nurses.
Nice.
And then we have the 20 for nurses and a couple of long-term units. And then the 12-plex is a mix of long-term and midterms too.
That's so awesome. So do you see in your future more of those partnership plays on bigger stuff? Or do you want to own little stuff or like under your personal name?
So I wanted to acquire a unit every single year. Like I just wanted to like get a building every single year, and that's obviously working really well. And if we show the concepts that we're doing, the investors that are limited partners on those, and limited partners for the viewers is just like someone that's obviously bringing the majority of the capital.
Right.
If they see this concept working and they see us doing a good job, that's just going to be fruitful.
Nice.
Like, and so I think we have the option to go and build bigger, grander things essentially. So I'm indifferent on that. Like I could see me grab a small thing or be part of a big thing. The most important thing for me is just the fact that I have the chance to actually go and acquire assets for little to nothing down.
That's huge.
Yeah.
These partnerships are so powerful. And that's one of the things like Kyle talked about a lot on his episode. And he's just a huge proponent of that because real estate, like I think you can accomplish more together, you know, and people have their expertise, like management, that's your lane. You get a slice of ownership. There's like capital partners, people that just want to bring money and be passive. Like that's great for them.
Yep.
And then the person that puts it all together, you know, and is a connector, like probably like what Kyle, his role, and maybe he brings some money too, but each person has their expertise, you know, property management or like deal analysis and raising capital, or just they bring their money and their credit score, you know, or in the personal guarantees and stuff like that.
Partnerships are just fun. Like they just truly are. You get the chance to be in business with great people because business ownership and entrepreneurship is really lonely when you're doing it yourself.
Yeah.
It's just, you do a lot of shadow work with entrepreneurship. Like you're in it constantly.
Yeah. There's no emotional payoff for those long days, like in your cold basement working on like how do I understand a lease agreement? You know, like every paragraph, because you can't go to your tenant and walk paragraph to paragraph with a long-term lease without knowing what it is.
Correct.
You know, and like if you read Landlording on Autopilot, you know, like you have to do the lease talk, and the lease talk is talking over every single part of the lease, telling them not to flush like tampons and condoms down the toilet. Like, don't be doing that. Building the competency in the shadow. It's so true. It's so, it can be really lonely, but yeah, your circle helps you through it. Partnerships help you through it. And even like guys online, influencers, like that can be like kind of like your
tapping
circle
into
too.
that's big.
Yeah.
Learn from, never be the smartest person in the room, right?
Right. Yeah.
Check.
So what is one goal you still haven't achieved yet?
Legacy. And what I mean by that is I want to build a strong foundation of wealth for my kids and my kids' kids, knowing just how much I've put in. No one's going to remember me for the cars I drive, the houses I own, the clothes I wear. Like I want to be able to set up my kid and their kids, and they're just going to talk about Grandpa Jory White one day that he did all this work and he did it for us.
Yeah.
Like, establishing that is, I think of my grandpa that owns a farm south of Valley City, put all that work into that, and that farm's worth $14 to $18 million. And that's legacy, in my opinion. You're doing hard work day in and day out, and one day you leave this earth and you leave behind nothing for your family. You leave behind security for them.
Yeah.
And that's the goal. I'm not going to achieve that for a while, but that's my ultimate goal that I want to be able to do.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Make your little dent on the universe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, legacy is such a cool thing. You can make an impact in so many ways. That's such a noble pursuit. You know, like a lot of people think like business owners are just like want the profits for ski trips, cars, like flashy stuff. And like my experience is the opposite. Like that materialism, there's a lot of that on like online, but a lot of the people I know, maybe it's just like a Midwestern thing, but we do stuff for the right reasons. You know, like we want nice stuff, sure, but like to a degree.
Yeah. Well, my perfect example just quickly of that is I was saving money to buy a Tesla Model 3. Like that was my dream car. That's what I wanted. And I was going to have the money, you know, a few years ago, and I cashed that out to go buy my duplex.
Love that. God, I love that.
I pivoted immediately because I came back from BBCon, Bigger Pockets Con out in San Diego.
Sweet.
And my mindset shifted pretty quick on what I was supposed to be doing with my money.
That's
Dude,
awesome.
that's amazing.
Yep,
yeah.
for
If
sure.
you guys haven't already, go listen to our episode with Carter, because we do a little bit of a deep dive into like making sacrifices to help build what you're trying to build, and like doing that stuff and keeping that
Window World?
why going.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
Carter
Carter
Brewer.
Brewer,
Yeah.
yeah.
He's a G. He's a real G.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah.
Speaking of shout outs, we want to talk a little bit more about shout outs. I mean, you've shouted out Kyle, a couple of like your owners and stuff, but we like to kind of touch back in with people that inspired us early on in our journey, or like people we learned a lot from, like masters of their niche. I've learned a ton from like people on YouTube, Bigger Pockets podcast, stuff like that. When someone is writing their biography of you someday, like Jory White's early influences were
Grandpappy
who?
Jory.
Who and who?
Yeah.
Daniel Rustine is a big one that I follow. So
Okay.
like I've done my consults with him and he's taught me a lot about pricing strategy.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt a lot more secure in how I price my units and how I just analyze my data.
Yeah.
The way I improve my optimizations of my listings, the tweaks that I have to make on certain things to kind of help it produce. And
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, like my units are going to do whatever they can do, but I have to also kind of be the guy behind the scenes that makes sure that I'm not just setting those and forgetting them.
Yeah.
Airbnb is not that. You have to constantly keep monitoring.
Like fine tuning the engine to make sure you're getting the most out of what you got.
So was this like a coach that you worked with, or like?
So he's a YouTube guy.
Oh,
so yeah,
okay.
he wrote a book, Profitable Properties. Shout out to him. I don't get any affiliate for that. So.
We don't yet, but maybe we can get Daniel on the podcast
Yeah,
too.
no
Yeah.
kidding. But yeah,
You wrote
so
a book too,
He wrote a
right?
book
Yeah.
that I read in.
You suggested that to me, and I listened to it like the next day. It was
I read
really
it
good.
in like 5 days. Like
he
I
used to
went
work
through
at
it.
Airbnb.
Correct.
So he has like this insight too.
Yeah. So I jumped into him real quick. I jumped into Rob Built really quick too on YouTube. So he
Mhm.
was Tiny Home. Like Tiny Home's still a huge passion of mine that I want to do someday.
Mhm.
But I started to consume that content really early with Airbnb when I started in 2022. But then, yeah, given obviously my normal shout out to Kyle for giving me a chance. And I'm also going to give a little plug to Eric Hatch because Eric said something that I'll always remember in my interview was, I can see how Kyle can be good for you, but I don't see how you could be good for Kyle. And then about a couple months goes by and Eric Facebook's messaged me and I still have it just screenshot on my phone. I'll forever hold it. You're doing incredibly well. You're proving me wrong. Like super proud of you, dude. And so his
Nice.
humbleness,
That's awesome.
he's such a humble dude. Like I have nothing but great love for Eric Hatch.
Oh, so he meant that during the interview. It wasn't like a test, like interview question.
Yeah.
He was
it also wasn't like intending to like hurt me or be like, you suck.
Yeah.
Like it was just like, you're just not proven talent.
Yeah.
You know, like all these other people that he could be interviewing might have more stats to them.
Yeah.
You know, Eric has to come into a 30-minute interview because it was a 3-hour interview for Kyle and he was 30-minute segment of it. So he has to really come in and break
Dang.
me down really quickly and analyze me. And boy, did he do it fast.
whoa.
Like immediately. The first thing he mentioned in that interview was, "How are you doing?" I said, "Yeah, I'm doing pretty good." "No, how are you actually doing? Like, how are you?" And just immediately I said,
Dang.
"You know what? I'm struggling with some stuff because at that time I was like,
Mm.
I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know if Kyle's role was going to be right for me, but he quickly broke me down and got me actually talking like more vulnerable than I've
Dang.
ever been in an interview
That's
before.
wild.
So like, yeah, like him getting into that was huge for me.
Cool.
Like immediately. Cause I think that helped him to assess me for
Yeah.
Kyle too. There's
Yeah.
a lot of development
awesome.
that came from that too. So it's just like, it felt good. And once you start getting a reputation going around town, you just like feel more confident in yourself
Yeah.
too. Like
Yeah.
always, your character is always going to be what you do when no one's looking. And you need to always keep that very high. Like never let that falter on you because people are always going to analyze you that way.
Yeah.
And like everyone wants to work with high performers and be around them and people that are achieving stuff, you know. So you keep your character pristine, your reputation precedes you. Like you're building evidence and social proof for your like professionalism and your like capacity for jobs and accomplishment with every deal you do. So like every win is just like a little resume booster.
Yep. When you're passionate, man, you do everything
That's
that
cool.
you just focus. Like
Yeah.
I feel more focused than I ever have because I'm actually passionate about what I'm doing.
And that's a huge
Yeah.
asset for you. And
Yeah.
it'll continue to pay dividends. Like that stuff really matters to people when it's a small community of investors.
Yeah.
You know, it's a small town. And when you have a good reputation, like people will know you and
Yeah.
they'll know you as the guy. The same as the bad. Like if you do one bad thing, people are like, he's a little shady. You know, I don't want
Yeah.
to
So-
prefer not to work with them.
Yep. Yep.
So not to revert back, but any other shout outs or anything, books or podcasts or people or anything like that?
Those are the main ones. I mean, Profitable Properties, tapping into that. If I'm consuming stuff, it's always on Airbnb. And I just try to stick to my couple people. Like
Yeah.
I'm not trying to go grab 10 individuals I'm feeding off of because they all have different ideas surrounding Airbnb.
Right.
So when I lock onto ones that I really like consuming their content, those are the ones I'm always going to stay dialed
Yeah.
into because it's Sean Rakatich too.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
He's a great one to tap in as well on YouTube. Those guys they've been in it long enough that they know what they're talking about. And you
Yeah.
can always take a nugget away from one of their videos.
Yeah. They give you nuts and bolts. They give you everything, and like even like the psychological preparation
Yes,
too, like
yes.
what to expect and how to do it.
Yeah.
So speaking of nuggets, one of the
You got some chicken
last things, yeah,
go for
you
something
got
like
any on you? No. One of the last things that we like to ask people, whoever's out there that's wanting to be an entrepreneur, wanting to pursue something, wanting to start something, what is one thing that you would tell them that they could do this week that would just get them one step closer to their goal?
If you're in your 9 to 5 and that's not what you're loving and you want to go start property management, your first actionable thing is to go identify, even drive around to some properties and just get some addresses together, like 10 to 15, even 20. Just start calling them and see if they have property managers or if they're renting. Like, and you're going to find out if it's going to be a rental, because typically going to have an LLC attached to it when you look up the Cass County lookup. But find out that information, and you can use what's called PropStream as well, which is just like a thing you pay monthly for, and you can go find contact information. There's several ways to do it. Like there's skip tracing ability, like there's so many different softwares, but PropStream is what I've used specifically. I'll go find their contact information and you can call it and see if anyone picks up, and then start having a fluent conversation with them.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm so-and-so, and start digging into pain points really quick. Don't try to sell them something.
Yeah.
Right. If you get into that, they're going to hang up real quick on you.
Right. Yeah. Just kind of approach it as like a problem solving. Hey, I'm looking to do this. And a lot of owners are like cool with it. You know, you'll get some grumpy, like people that have like one property and like, I don't need you. But like, on the average, landlords want help, you know, so like you can provide a valuable service.
They don't need the long spiel of who you are and what you're wanting to do. They want to know why you're calling and what you're trying to fix for them.
Yeah, I love that.
So get to that really quickly.
Yeah.
Would you have, or is there a way to twist that, or would there be something more as like a blanket statement for somebody who wants to like go make mirrors and start a business doing that?
Sure.
Like, is it like
mirror making
there's a mirror on the wall, so I'm like, oh, mirrors. But I mean, like, you know, with
business
that,
in general,
does a lot of it come down to like that networking side of things, would you say? Or
I think networking is super important, but I think if you're wanting to get out of that 9 to 5 because you hate it and you found something you're passionate about, go and do it better than anybody. Like study, like you can't just all of a sudden think you're going to know something if you don't do a lot of work. They say it takes 10,000 plus hours to become an expert. Yeah. I'm not an Airbnb expert. I'm not even close to 10,000 hours.
Yeah. What was we did the math. What was it? It was like how many?
3 years.
5 years?
It's like 3.5 years or something like that.
I thought it was more than that. I thought it was 5.
I could see it be 5. Like,
that
would put me a couple years away yet.
Yeah.
But it's like 3 to 5 years of a full-time job to hit 10,000 hours.
Yeah. You can't drop your 9 to 5 just like that. Like you have to have some plan for it. Like if you want to go into business, you need to know, is that what you want to do? Like don't get carried away. Like I tried to go do a lawn and snow company as I was doing property management at the time, and that failed so miserably. Like you can't cast that wide of a net in business, in my opinion. I think it gets a little bit squirrely. It's one thing owning properties and like managing them that way, and then having, you know, a young guy that's hustling and running your maintenance arm, and you're helping them every now so often, just like having conversations. Focus up on something and just do it better each day than your competition.
Well, I think the last thing we got is where can people find you? What, you know, shout out your own company or how people can find that. And
brag on yourself a little bit.
How can
people book your Airbnbs or find you on Google or anything?
So I mean, if you just Google search Guardian Property Management, you'll find our Google, and then you can find our website too. And then so you can get in touch with us that way.
Make sure it's Fargo, North Dakota.
yes, because there is one in Minnesota. So make sure you look in Fargo, North Dakota for Guardian Property Management. And then as far as like listings go, I should put some on that website at some point, but you'll have to find it on Airbnb. I don't have a direct booking website at the current state. We're on a little social media hiatus, so it's going to be tough to find me on Facebook and Instagram and that stuff. But once I'm back, again, you can find me just Jory White on Facebook. That's probably where I'll connect with people the most. If you see my number on the website, feel free to come and reach out to me, and we can have a coffee and stuff. I like having conversations surrounding this stuff all the time. Like,
that's awesome.
It's fun to do. So
yeah, dude, this was awesome talking to you about there actually like was a lot of actionable stuff in here too, especially like if you're looking into that property management or like that kind of side of things. I feel like I could have a pretty good start if I went out there and started trying to do property management.
Well, and it's real estate adjacent business too. So like anything real estate, I'm on board with, because real estate is a millionaire maker. you know, like, and like the satellite businesses like real estate brokerage, you know, appraisal, inspection, insurance, banking,
Yeah.
all that stuff, property management,
Yep.
maintenance and repairs, like all that stuff, handyman, all like surrounds owning property.
Yep.
And how does all those businesses make money and get paid is the property owner. Fuels that, the owner or the transaction itself, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. The most important thing too is like when you're starting to get into business, it's always great to have the vision of I want to get out of the business at this time and just be passive. But when I look at that, I've kind of moved that just to get it out of my mind. I've stopped being, when am I going to get out of this thing? Like if you want to be an entrepreneur in business, prepare. Like we're going to be working hard for some time.
Yeah. There's no like get rich quick unless like you just bought crypto and then got super lucky, but that's gambling.
That's the small percentage of America. Right?
Yeah. It's not realistic for everyone to do, but real estate over a 5-year, 10-year time horizon it's
going to move you quick.
Oh yeah.
Like if you do it right.
But yeah, dude, it's been awesome. We appreciate you having on.
Of course.
Heck
Thank
yeah,
you.
man. This was a good time.
Yeah.
Thanks for
fun.
coming over. Thanks for coming down to our studio and sitting with us and sharing all your awesome wisdom.
Yeah. Thanks guys. I really appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, this was good. We appreciate you coming on.
Hopefully we can turn some misfits into millionaires with this episode. I'm sure we will. But that provides a path for our misfit listeners and our misfits ourselves. Mostly Dan.
Yep. We'll see you next time.
See you in the next episode. Thanks, guys.
Started college wanting to go into optometry.
Yes. Yep.
What changed where you're like, this ain't it?
He had a new vision. Oh, what? What? Optometry joke. Get out of here. I'm going to save my puns for Joe's episode.
I think, yeah.